A petition by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has drawn attention to questions of accountability in public office. He has asked the Independent Corrupt Practice Commission to investigate Farouk Ahmed, head of the Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, over allegations of illicit enrichment linked to overseas education spending for his children. Now, the claims have sparked public debate about transparency and the use of state resources and the responsibilities of regulators in a sector critical to Nigeria's economy. Well, joining me to discuss this right now is Jide Johnson. He's a public affairs analyst. He joins me in the studio. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Dawan. Good day to our viewers all over the world.
All right. Let me start with, of course, the breaking, what Nigerians, of course, are getting to know as follow-up to this. The resignation of the individual in question, Mr. Farouk. Are you surprised?
Well, I'm not surprised. If you look at the style of this present administration, we've seen minister resigning on held ground. We've seen the national chairman of the party resigning on held ground, and we've seen sudden resignation of something which was not common in our climate when it comes to political appointees and public officials. So the resignation did not come as a surprise, and it was not just the only casualty. The other
the sister
arm of the regulator is also affected. Was also affected. Both of them were appointed on the same day. I think that this particular issue gave the president an opportunity to have his own men in this particular. The resignation did not come out of. It was after the meeting with the president, yes. And then, if you understand the way top executive work and outings work, probably must have been required to do the needful. And I think that itself should not take away attention from the issues that have been raised. The issues that have been raised with respect to who is the regulator of regulatory agencies. What are the guardrails that we have put in place to ensure that due diligence, transparency, and compliance with ethical standards are enforced in people that we have given responsibility for managing our business.
If we had to go back to this story, some would maybe put this in lieu or describe it as some sort of power play, a businessman versus a senior civil servant. Dangote alleged that Farouk spent over $7 million in public funds on his children's education in Switzerland, which of course Ahmed did deny. Aliko Dangote released a breakdown of some sort. Now, in his defense, I'm talking about Mr. Farouk now, he said that those allegations were wild and spurious, and maintained that his children's education were funded through legitimate means, including scholarships and family support, and even authorized schools to release financial records to investigators.
For me, I think it was classless
Classless on whose part?
On the part of Dangote to have brought in the issue of the children. The children are innocent. Nobody decides.
So are you saying that Dangote was petty?
Nobody decides. No child takes a decision concerning what the parents spent on the children. As far as I'm concerned, that issue, the name of you can raise the issue, but bringing in the name of the children, identifying them and bringing them into the public domain is opening them to a lot of stigmatization in the future. Everybody now knows who the name of these kids are, and then it was just an allegation that has not been proven to be right or wrong. And if you have to use that yardstick, do you know how many officials in Nigeria occupying, whether public officials elected or appointed, whose children are abroad? That brings us to another issue that we need to discuss. If you are a public servant, should your children go to school abroad, or should they school in Nigeria?
But some will say if you can afford it. No, if in this case, I think he puts his annual salary at about 48
I'm not justifying his action of sending his children to school abroad. But what I'm saying is that bringing the names, the identity of the kids, it's you see, bringing it into the conversation. The issue is an official matter, a government policy. It's not a family matter. And to issues relating to government policies, the regulatory agencies, and its own business. Those are the issues that I think that should have. And I did tweeted concerning that. I did a post on X and I said, if a communication consultant had worked with Aliko Dangote, I'm sure they will be having a regret in bringing, for example, it's unethical for you, for example, if you are reporting issues concerning children, to use particularly survivors of rapes and the rest of it, for you to use their image or to use their identity. And I think, for me, as far as I'm concerned, anything relating to the children are innocent. Now, they've been brought into the issue, into the front burner of this conversation with respect to their dad spending money on their education, justifiably or not. That's not the issue. But there's one issue we take out of that. Why should public officials be sending their children? Our schools will not be better. Our roads will not be better. Our hospitals will not be better. Over the course of last week, it was alleged that the Senate president traveled abroad for. So all of these issues we need to bring into conversation with respect to, if you're a public official, whether you can afford it or you cannot afford it, your children should go to school in Nigeria. Well, yeah, because if you want to, it's leadership by example.
So that at the end of the day,
you can invest money. Imagine that $7 million being spent on schools in Sokoto State. Let's say primary schools or secondary school in Sokoto State. What quality of education? And then imagine the contribution we are making into Switzerland's economy. Imagine injecting $7 million times 1,000 kids into the Nigerian economy. And so there are other issues that are tied to this particular issue. But bringing the issue of the children, for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's not something I will have advised if my counsel is sought with respect to that. But the issue concerning regulation, concerning
the kids being in the front burner should not have been there according to you. But let's do a bit of detour. Let's look at Dangote. Let's put him into the a spotlight right now. For many Nigerians that have been observing that space in the past 2 years, the amount of times Dangote has hosted a press conference personally talking on issues, some will say in their lifetime that they've heard of the name. The amount of times they've seen him talk has been super enormous. So what does this signal? And what message do you think his constant appearance, particularly the issues he raises, the concerns he raises, what message does it pass to the global business community as regards their perception about Nigeria? Now,
it tells you about corporate governance in Nigeria, the ease of doing business. If the richest black man is complaining about your government policy, about the opacity of your government policy, is a dangerous signal. Because we want to come and invest in this climb, whereby, you see, there is one of the things we do when it talks in terms of setting up a business, which is called PESO analysis. PESO is an acronym for political, economic, socio-technological, legal, and environmental factors that you take into consideration. When you talk about political, you talk about political stability. Talk about political stability, talk about government policies. And now, if in the last 2 years, Dangote have had cause to complain about issues relating to an area which is the mainstay of our economy, which we have also complained about, which was the cross of the president's speech when he came on that subsidy removed, subsidy is gone, and in this area, I don't want government to get involved. I want private actors to participate. And you see, the richest man in Africa made an investment in this particular critical sector that even government with turnarounds maintainer, they couldn't maintain Warri refinery, they couldn't do anything about Port Harcourt refinery, they couldn't do anything about Kaduna refinery, and yet a private invested his money. You want return on investment. There are still those that still believe that it should be business as usual, that there's a new sheriff in town, that the approaches of what made our own government-owned refinery not to function, not to work, after series of investment, billions of dollars being invested on it, not to work, and this new approach of allowing public-private participation in this particular sector. So if I were Dangote, I would scream. Because the cabal in this sector are still working to ensure that nothing works, that we rely on importation of fuel. People are making, it's easier for you to make money from trading. than for you to make money from manufacturing. And you know the interesting thing, it is manufacturing that grows your economy. If I have the dollars, I exchange the dollar, I go abroad, I import the fuel. How many jobs am I creating? What am I contributing to Nigerian gross domestic product? But if we refine the product here, we save foreign exchange earning, we distribute the product for local consumption, and we export to other countries, we gain a foreign exchange earning from. So it is basic, simple ABC. We don't need any economic theory to explain all of that.
Okay, but before we go on the break, I know you have a lot to say. I'm really trying to manage time here. But what do you respond? What response do you have for those that think that, in spite of Dangote's concern, he's also been accused of being monopolistic?
Wait, has it stopped other people from investing? I think there are other private investors soon, because we don't want to do promotion for some organization. Soon, a rival company, the competitor, life is not interesting without competition. There's a local competition for Dangote. There's a local competition for Dangote when it comes to establishment of refinery. You know, they are both from Kano State, and so it's just a matter of time. You see, the interesting thing is basic economy says that perfect competition bring about equilibrium in the market forces. It is some have argued that okay, we are trying to replace government monopoly with private monopoly. There's a starting point. We didn't even have government monopoly again because NNPC is no longer functioning per se with respect to refining product locally and distributing locally and selling. We are selling our own crude. We are selling it in crude form. How many nations sell their product in crude form? You know, so you lose resources, and now we have somebody that has invested locally. What we need to do is to support such person.
All right. Let's go on our final break. When we return, we will be, of course, winding down. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And, of course, we're looking at the face-off between Aliko Dangote and the now resigned chief boss of one of the agencies within Nigeria's oil sector, Farouk Ahmed. Well, I still have Jide Johnson. He's a public affairs analyst. We have less than 30 seconds, on this. I would like you to just, quickly, if you can, in 30 seconds, respond to certain concerns that, look, even though, yes, according to it's unethical, that, the kids are mentioned, but some feel that, look, we are talking about justice here. We are talking about accountability. Everything must be transparent.
Yeah, should we subject everything to media trial? Has it been proven that the resources that were used to send these children to school abroad were illicitly gotten? As far as I'm concerned, the matter between Dangote Petroleum Products and the regulatory agency is not personal. It is about government policies, about business survival, it's about the ease of doing business. And I think that should be the issue. As far as this argument is concerned, in philosophy we call it argumentum ad hominem. You are attacking the personality. You are begging the issue by attacking the personality. And look, it's about whipping public sentiment. If you understand political warfare, economic strategy, and the rest, and the rest of it, and like some would say, all is fair in war, but it is not all that is fair that is ethical. It's the ethical aspect of it. In 20 years' time, what happens to those kids? In 15 years' time, what happened to those kids? And if you are using this particular issue as a case study, how many public officials, children are schooling in Nigeria? How many of those that are occupying either governors, senators, president, and the rest of them, how rich were they in 1999? And that's why I talk about the guardrails of who watches over the watchdog, who regulates the regulator, what is the level of transparency that we have. It takes a Dangote to come out to speak about the rot in this particular system, which we thought that has been dealt with the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act. You know how many years? It was a bill, but it has been passed to an act.
Yes.
And how many years it took? How many from Yadua to Jonathan before? It was so, as far as this issue is concerned, it raises critical question about people living above their means.
All right. Thank you so much, Jide Johnson.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.